Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is Transfers Live, and that is not Jay Motti, it's Ronaldo Brand. You're not even trying to be like Jay. Like, where's the hoodie? Where's the jeans?
I can't try. I can only be myself.
You can only be yourself.
I walked in and I saw you looking slightly formal, fleecy.
Yeah, I've dressed a little bit. This is vaguely sort of Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince in it. This cardigan.
Uncle Phil, a little bit, and I've just
slightly.
And I look like I PT at Pure Gym.
Yeah, you do look a little bit Pure Gym PT actually. But we've got loads to talk about. Loads of transfers. Sancho deal is done. We've got an update on Martial that is confusing, if nothing else. Also, this man right here, United linked with a £34 million move for a striker. We'll get into all of that. And also, we've got a little bit of an update on Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well, the man pictured right there. Let's just get straight into it, because this is the one that's... It's weird that it's the big one when it's a €4 million bit of news, but let's get into it. So I don't know if you know this, Ron. I don't know when the last time we did this. Every time now we have the puns
we had
at
a
the
little
top.
We had a bit of a pun off.
Yes, we had a little tete-a-tete last time. Okay, so let's get into this one.
Yeah.
Sancho truce. Now, what's Stuss?
Goodbye in German.
It's goodbye in German. So how is it pronounced?
Tschüss.
Truce. So Sancho truce. So Sancho goodbye.
Truce. Yes, okay. Yeah.
It's tough, isn't it? Anytime you have to have the brackets
He's
to
responsible
explain
for
it,
these.
It's mostly Ethan.
Right,
Look, Ethan is, right? He's so proud of this one, not because it's a good pun necessarily, but because it shows that he has a sort of working grasp of basic
German. Okay.
So he loved it. Ethan was like, who's in charge of this, responsible for this? And Ethan went,
Sancho truce.
that'll be me, that one. Oh, guilty as charged. Let's get into it.
And is the irony that there's not been a truce between him and...
Well, there's a truce between him and United in order to go, maybe.
Okay.
I guess, I don't know. Sancho is set to join Borussia Dortmund on loan for the rest of the season. We kind of know this already, don't we? So Manchester United and Borussia Dortmund have concluded a deal. Finally, it is done for Jadon Sancho to join the Bundesliga club on loan for the rest of the season. The package is worth £3.4 million to United in terms of a loan fee and partial coverage of the winger's salary. Sancho will take a medical before signing for Dortmund, which is standard obviously, who do not have an option to buy him. Sancho thrived at Dortmund from 2017 to 2021, prompting United to pay an initial £73 million for him, but his time at Old Trafford has turned sour and he has not played for more than 4 months, and that's obviously The Guardian, Romano, that's pretty much everyone. We've not spoken about this because we didn't do a podcast this week. What do you make of this deal? What do you make of Sancho leaving, going back to Dortmund, even the little details like no option to buy? Just give me your thoughts on this.
Loans are often, obviously, I feel like the main purpose usually of a loan is for a player to go somewhere, get game time, kind of develop in a certain way and then come back ready to kind of fight for the parent club that they're actually at. Yeah. But this Jadon Sancho one has a little bit of a feeling of being, I don't feel like his career at United is almost salvageable at this moment in time. It almost feels like the bridge is completely burned, and it's almost like we're sending him on loan to kind of get him out of our hair a little bit. People are kind of grasping onto the feeling that he could go refine some of his Borussia Dortmund form that he did have between those years and then come back motivated. But there's nothing that I've really seen from Sancho since he's been at United that encourages me to feel like that would happen. Especially we know the difference between Bundesliga and the Premier League. Even people are now saying that maybe he's been misprofiled and he should maybe play centrally. But a lot of these things that we're talking about and that we've seen with Sancho in terms of his attitude and his punctuality, there were concerns about that when he was at Dortmund anyway. Yeah. So then you kind of look at United and think, we United looking at them things when we wanted to sign a winger. Did United, obviously he had all these stats, all these goals and assists, where he was basically rivaling Lionel Messi for goals and assists at some point. But a lot of his assists, if you actually look at it in Dortmund, and people did raise this kind of alarm bell. None of them weren't like your typical winger, byline, beat a man, cross it, pull back and those type of things. Yeah. A lot of it was when he would kind of infield on breakaways, slide through balls, like cute, intricate passes through to like the likes of like gunmen basically, like Haaland, etc. that can finish. So I don't know, I think what we've seen from Sancho, it's been underwhelming, but I think we thought we were getting something different than he actually is.
So do you think that basically it wasn't like a bad version of Sancho, it was just Jadon Sancho, and actually we either played him the wrong way and didn't get the most out of him, or that was all he's got to offer? Surely there's more in the tank than what we've seen.
No, there's definitely more in the tank, but I just think the way the Premier League's gone to become very athletic, and if you're not, especially if you're in the wide areas, if you aren't quick and dynamic, but also you don't work hard, I think you definitely get found out. You need a little bit of an engine as well, and you don't have the same kind of obstacles when you're playing in the Bundesliga. You've seen the attacking numbers that you get. You got the likes of Garassi, who's firing them in the Bundesliga. He's never done that before in his career. Then he will get a move on the back of that, and it doesn't translate very well to leagues where the defending's a little bit stronger. It's not as open. It's not as transitional. So I'm not sure what to make of the Sancho situation, because there's part of you think you've done a £73 million investment. He's young still.
Yeah.
Is there a way that he can turn it around? But to me, from what we've seen from day one, is not probably the winger that's probably got enough fire in his belly, and enough dynamism, and enough to his game to be an effective player, especially in the system and the way that we're trying to play. Yeah. He kind of gives me the vibe of someone that's in between a winger and a number 10.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't particularly excel at both, because even nowadays, a 10 isn't really a luxury player anymore. A 10 is a player that does obviously have the ability to roam and do all them things, but they also are quite often required to do a lot of work off the ball.
Yeah. You look at like Bruno, or Odegaard,
Bernardo
Silva. Yeah.
But these are hard-working players. Do you know what I mean? Even James Maddison.
I think in the last decade we've seen a transition away from that. I think one of the things that showed me that in the first place was when we signed Juan Mata from Chelsea, and he went from being a number 10, what was it, something like 35 assists in all comps the year before we signed him. And then we signed him, and almost immediately he got pushed out wide.
To right wing.
Because we realised that you have to have someone who can tackle a little bit, who can sprint a little bit, who can track the man a little bit in that number 10. And I always feel like Juan Mata was that last era of players who could kind of get away with being the old school, slightly lightweight, not as hard working number 10. And
can't have any passengers now.
No. Physically, off the ball, on the ball, anything, you have to be an all-round player. I mean, obviously, no one's saying that Antony's a great player, but I think one of the reasons he starts over Sancho is his work rate off the ball is so much better, so much higher, and obviously you want someone who can do both, but managers favour the work rate almost over the output at times, and I think depending on what style of manager you are, and obviously someone like Ten Hag was never going to accept him being late, all these discipline issues. Like maybe Solskjaer didn't mind that as much, and he could, someone to wake him up in the morning like we saw at Dortmund knocking on his hotel door. But Ten Hag doesn't accept that anyway. So then when you do it off the pitch and on the pitch, it was just never going to work, was it? We've got a few super chats saying, this is from YouTube, saying he's either been injured, not done much when he's played, or been left out by a manager for having an attitude. Yeah. Sir Clovis says the work rate still doesn't do shit for us. How useful is he? Yeah, I mean, I understand. I do think it's the right thing for him to move on. Someone said, where's the loan fee? The package doesn't even cover 150k a week for 6 months. That's something I wanted to ask you about, because you get into these like Twitter rabbit holes of like detail and statistics. We're covering his fee, or a lot of his wages apparently. They're covering a portion of his wages. Yeah. He's on about 15 million quid a year. What is this 3.4 million quid? Because it doesn't, by the sounds of it, it doesn't even cover the wages that we're paying of his. So why not? What do you think? It's just an accounting thing, like we can put this down as a transfer fee, whereas the wages are something else? Because why not just pay all of his, like not have a loan fee?
Is it a lump sum, maybe?
Yeah, maybe it's a lump sum thing, and they can put it on the books for this year or last year or whatever. It's an interesting one, though, isn't it?
It does seem like a bit of an accounting thing.
It must be.
Because for someone, because what was the, if anyone knows in the comments, what was the loan fee that Atletico Madrid got for João Felix?
Yeah, wasn't it something like, well, the reports were 19 million.
It was like quite a lot.
But it was like over 10 million, it was a lot.
It was over 10 million.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons United didn't go for him, wasn't it? So, yeah. I mean, someone's saying Sancho's on 250k a week with bonuses. Why do these people
he's on more than
300, 350? I mean, if you Google, obviously we're not his accountant, we're not checking his bank. Anywhere you look, anywhere you Google, it says more than 250.
I think he's like from what we've been known, what we've seen, one of the biggest bugbears with the Jadon Sancho transfer and his performances and his application to obviously his Manchester United career is the fact that he was, at some point, he might have been the third or fourth highest paid player in the Premier League.
Yeah.
If you don't get me, and that right around the likes of Salah and De Bruyne, and you're thinking that was part of like the cultural issue with United in terms of giving players too much money, and and the kind of desperation factor, and then the return that you get is nowhere near the likes of a player that values that. And then now, Jadon Sancho's on 350k, 300k a week, and when you're trying to sell him, or even put him on loan, but especially when you go to sell him, it's difficult to ship him because of his wages.
The mad thing is, if you Google it, you literally get anywhere between 18 million a year, which is something like 370. Sports Illustrated saying 373. Other people saying 250. There's one place that says 200. Like 180k a week. Sorry, it depends where you look, but let's just say a lot of money then, because maybe with relatively easy achievable bonuses or whatever, he's on a hell of a lot of money and quite comfortably is one of the highest paid players at Man United, which was widely reported when he came. Either way, too much money to be sat on the bench every week. So for you, the right thing to do?
I think it is the right thing to do. I think at this point he does look like the type of player, as I said earlier, that he probably has to become a more of a central player. But then again, has he got the legs, the work rate to play there? Because it isn't just about being a luxury number 10 where you can roam about, get on the ball and do pretty things and then nothing off the ball. So
it's weird, isn't it? The Bundesliga, almost like Bayern Munich sort of skews it, because when's that? Can someone have a Google? Oh, actually, I know the answer. Or I think I know the answer. I was going to say, when's the last time someone other than Bayern Munich won the Champions League? But it was Dortmund. Was it 94 that Dortmund won it?
Yeah.
So I think that's the last time. So 30 years nearly. I know they've got to a couple of finals, and they've had spells where Dortmund in particular have been very good. But really, you look at some of the assists and the goals that get scored in the Bundesliga. Other than Haaland, I'm struggling to think of many people who bring those numbers straight over. Even someone like De Bruyne, yes, he's exceptional, but he was 30 assists in the Bundesliga, or in all competitions. I think he got 1 year in the Bundesliga, and he's got close to that for City. But it's such a hard league to sort of transition.
You've got to be careful.
Yeah. Let's get into the next one then. This is another player. This is a mad one actually. We'll get into this. So this is Anthony Martial. So martial arts of not moving. What does that mean?
What?
Arts of not moving. Ethan?
Martial arts, isn't it? He's not moving.
Martial arts, isn't it? He's not moving. So the art of not moving, yes. But it's also martial arts. Yes. I'm not sure I like that.
Nah, I don't. These haven't been great today.
It's not been his best work, has it? Ollie, you don't need to celebrate Ethan's downfall. What we do here is we look at the positives. Behind the camera there, because Ethan's done them tonight, Ollie was cheering like he'd scored a goal. You'd celebrate when someone gets injured, you would. Unbelievable. Right. But here, all that matters is, when you do a good job, you celebrate, and when he does a good job, we celebrate that as well, okay? There's no celebrating negativity in this office. Someone said, Ethan's washed up, Ethan's fallen off. Ethan is a washed baller. Yeah, ridiculous. Shit. Someone just said shit puns. Let's get into this. Let's get into this. Well, Ethan thinks about what he's done.
Marshalled out to Turkey.
Can't be martial arsed.
Marshalled out.
Anthony Martial. Anyway, Anthony Martial has confirmed his desire to stay at Manchester United. So I'm going to read through this quickly because we've got almost the inverse of this story coming straight after. Anthony Martial wants to stay at Manchester United until the summer. He's not interested in a move away from Old Trafford this month. Martial has rejected interest from Marseille, Fenerbahce, crucially, mentioned Fenerbahce there, and the Saudi Arabian Premier League, and intends to stay and fight for his place in Erik ten Hag's team. United have held talks with the player and his agent about his future. As it stands, they are unlikely to trigger the one-year option in Martial's contract. Therefore, Martial is on course to leave United on a free transfer when his deal expires on the 30th of June this year. Now, just before we talk about this, and I want to talk about this, let's just nip straight to the next one. Because in the last hour or so, there was also this basically tweet that came out, this news that came out of Turkey. No, not that one. Have we not got one for the other Martial story?
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay, right, we haven't got one. But there's a bit of news from Philip Labole, who is a Turkish, who is the representative of Manchester United. Mm. He is apparently in Turkey now. That was according to Yagiz Sabunçoglu on Twitter, who's supposedly some sort of Turkish football expert.
Cool.
So it could be for someone else. Could be anything.
Could be something cosmetic.
Could be something. Yeah, it could be. Could just be getting his hair done.
Could be his hair.
Could be getting his teeth done. Maybe can someone Google Philip Labole
yes.
And work out what's the most likely cosmetic surgery he's getting done just based on his physical appearance, which is probably one of the most shallow things we've ever done on this show. But just give me a shout. Hair, teeth, nose, whatever. Give me a shout. Okay. So let's go with this for now, because this is Sky Sports.
Okay.
So we kind of know the reliability of them. Usually pretty good. Not always bang on, obviously, Sky Sports, but more often than not, I would say they get it right. What is going on here? Why do you think he wants to stay?
I think he wants to stay because of been this increase of player power coming to this kind of the contract negotiation aspect of it, where it does benefit a player a lot more to leave on a free.
Yeah.
When they leave a club, because forever they sign for, I feel like they get a bulk of the money. The sign-on fee's bigger. Right. They don't have like any ties with another club, and
you know a little bit about this.
Yeah. I feel like
friends and people who.
I feel like it helps. I don't know if it specifically is that, because also you've got to bank on there being a market for you once you become a free agent, as we've seen with De Gea. There isn't necessarily a market there.
No, it's true. Jesse Lingard, another one.
Because he knows that his contract is ending, because with these loan suggestions or the transfer suggestions,
well, that's the thing.
No, it makes sure because
if it's a loan,
it makes no sense because his contract.
Yeah.
Which is because I did see a report a couple of days ago that said that when Fenerbahce were interested, they were asking United to extend his contract for a year, so that they'll take him on loan for a year and then there'll obviously be 6 months left or whatever, just so they can get more of him rather than actually outright pay for him. And obviously United don't want to do that. Right. But for him to want to stay, knowing that he becomes a free agent, it could be a little bit of like, you've got a...
Can't read that.
You
just ignore that. Ethan's put
Ethan's
put up what he thinks.
Does anyone?
Martial's agent might be doing in Turkey cosmetically, and we simply cannot read it.
That. He basically said his whole face.
Yeah, he just said the whole face.
Like you watch basketball.
Yeah.
NFL, American sports. You know contract years.
Yes.
We kind of had that little theory about Rashford. Sometimes when a player's got a year left on their contract and almost playing for it, they usually find their best form magically. And I don't know whether he's thinking, I'm a free agent at the end of the season, I've got 6 months. If I can put in a few good performances for United, does that kind of broaden my pool in terms of interest when I become a free agent? Other than that, I'm not quite sure, because he quite obviously is a second choice striker. Yeah. Maybe he's also seeing that Højlund isn't exactly firing on all cylinders, so maybe he thinks that there's a little bit of an in there where he's not definitely going to back up each game, because you don't know. But other than that, I think the Martial story at United does need to close, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a shame as well, isn't it? Because you look at, and I'm not necessarily taking the blame away from Martial for his performance, because you have to take responsibility. But you just look at how United have ended the career, not the career, but the United career of some players in recent seasons. Like the way United wait too long, and it sullies and spoils the memories and reputation of players. If we'd have sold Martial 2 years ago, after that Sevilla loan, didn't work out, 22 million, 25 million, whatever, you go, well, he had a bad season, but, probably the time to move on. We respect him, well done. If we'd have done the same thing with Phil Jones 4 or 5 years ago, another one, Paul Pogba, you let him run down his contract and we see these weird performances and all this mad stuff and he ends up leaving and he's a bit of a, people take the piss out of him. David De Gea is a perfect example at the club for a decade. And instead of selling him 2-3 years ago when his performances had clearly started to dip and we needed a different style of play, we kept him for another year. He signs half a contract, then leaves on a free. And it ends up making the players look bad and changing the relationship those players have with the fans. If he'd have gone 3 years ago or 2 years ago, he'd be a loved player that some people are, maybe we shouldn't have got rid of him, he was a great player. Now it's like, come on, mate, leave. Yeah. And you think, I shouldn't have to feel like that about Martial.
It doesn't help when you've been playing for a struggling club and a club that's been underachieving for as long as United is. It doesn't exactly help you in the market in terms of selling players. No. And also, United have been so poorly run that in the last 10 years, it's been so much of a graveyard for players anyway, in terms of their development. We talked about it, players have very rarely come into United in the last 10 years and had a long sustained period of success, apart from maybe Bruno or someone that's actually been firing on all cylinders and kind of probably maximise their potential. Yeah. So the issue is, United signed someone like Martial, who had a Ballon d'Or clause, he's 18, 19. He doesn't fulfil his potential to the max. He's part of a struggling tenure of United. But United will still have this little thing about worrying about selling him. Yeah. Selling someone like Martial when he's 25, 26, because they may be concerned that because Martial's got a little bit of talent, that if they sold him at 25, he might go on and and kind of fulfill his potential a little bit more elsewhere,
Yeah.
and then that maybe looks even worse on Manchester United.
Yeah.
I think that was a lot to do with why United have kept Martial, just that kind of lingering thing of will it
But that's the
will it
problem
drop
when you
through,
don't
and
have
it never has.
footballing people making these decisions.
Do you know what I mean?
People who can't, obviously no one can see the future. But look across town at City. They sold Zinchenko, they sold Sterling, they sold Mahrez, they sold Laporte. They got close to 200 million for, put Palmer in there, close to 200 million for that lot. And all of them you go, was that a year too soon? And then looking back, other than Cole Palmer, where you could maybe say, oh, he looks very good for Chelsea, they wouldn't have any of them back. And even Cancelo, he falls out with Pep and he's gone. You wouldn't have him back. You wouldn't have any of them back. And you look at United and we wait until the career is dead and sucked of any life, and then we let them.
They'll get a good fee for Cancelo.
Yeah.
Because Cancelo has had a decent career at City, a spell of decent form.
Yeah.
He's actually not been, and that happens at a lot of these clubs, and then they're able to sell these players when they don't want them more. But there's obviously they can demand more because for one, they're not a struggling club.
Yeah,
they're not desperate. And also the players actually have a bit of value because they've been a part of success.
Yeah.
Because even when they're selling Jesus for 60 million to Arsenal and stuff like
I
that.
forgot about him.
So it's like, they can do that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And they don't let players rot on the vine by staying 2-3 years too long like
Apart
United keep
Calvin Phillips is the only one.
But he's only been there a year and a half. He's not been there long.
I bet you any money that when he is sold, City are at least able to get 30 million.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Well, they spent 45 million on him, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think they'll get a minimum 30.
Do you know what I mean?
Someone will pay 30 million for him.
They've signed some 45 million. He's played about the same amount of games for City since he's been there as me.
Yeah.
And watch him go for 30 million.
Yeah.
And that's.
But again, United would probably give Calvin Phillips another year after this one because we couldn't get a replacement in. And then all of a sudden he's going for 6 million and we're paying his wages for a loan fee.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one. We'll keep an eye on the Martial stuff because to me it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't leave in January, especially if United are going for a striker. And on that, let's get into this. So he's from Canada. Let's get that out of the way. Canada go to United. Is that meant to be? Can I go to United? Can I, Dad, go to United? Dar is in the sort of Scottish colloquial term for dad.
They've actually got worse.
They've got worse. This is the worst one we've made. This may be the worst one we've ever seen. Because what's his dad... I haven't read this yet. If his dad isn't his agent, because that would clear this up. Can our dad go to United? Because then he's asking his dad who's there. If his dad's not his agent, you're fired.
There's so many tap-ins here as well.
You're fired.
There's so many tap-ins. You could have just been like a little hope for United.
Do you know what I mean?
So, something like...
It's not hard, is it? I'm going to read this, and his dad better be his fucking agent. Right. David has made it clear that he's eager to move from Lille, and a deal could be struck in the weeks ahead with Man United and Villa, both of whom are in the market for a centre-forward with his qualities. Speaking in December 2022, which is, it seems like last month, but that's a year and a month ago, David's agent, Nick Mavromaras, indicated that the players... Nick Mavromaras. I wonder if Mavromaras is the surname of his father, and he's just taken his mum's maiden name with David, has he? Doesn't sound Canadian. Indicated that the player was seeking a transfer for summer 2023, yet after missing that deadline, the possibility of a January deal is live. I think the Premier League is a good option for him. Mavromaras told Radio Canada, or Mavromaras, could be that as well. I think that he likes Spain a lot also because he likes the feeling of the ball and the very technical players. We don't play with a ball in England, we just play with a frozen pig's head that you get underneath a pub. These two leagues are a big priority for him, but nothing is excluded. Fucking hell, his agent is proper trying to sell him in.
I was going to say,
he is sick of Lille, I can tell you that. This is
the biggest agent job I've ever seen. He's been doing that for the past couple summers where I feel like all the links that to Jonathan David to all the clubs in the Premier League have been his agent.
His agent is desperate to get him out because he's hitting that age as well. We haven't got it here. I think he's 25, 26, isn't he? He's or 24.
He's not that old.
Is he 24?
He might be 23.
I think he's just
24.
starting to hit that age where you need to be.
I won't be surprised if he's
taking
still
that
23.
big move. Let's have a look.
He was 23, 24.
He's 23, but he turns 24 in 4 days.
Yeah.
So he's essentially 24 years old, and you need to start taking that jump into the big leagues if you're ever going to do it.
He's essentially 24 years old. I've never got when people do that.
But
it's my birthday next month, so I'm basically 20.
But this is different because by the time another club signs him, you're signing a 24-year-old. That's my point. Do you know what I mean?
It's essentially Saturday.
It's essentially Saturday already. I think that actually, isn't that Jay's birthday? The 14th of January is Jay's birthday, isn't it? Huh.
It's essentially Jay's birthday.
Jonathan David shares a birthday with Jay. If anyone knows Jay's birthday in the comments, I'm pretty sure that is Jay's birthday.
What's he doing for it? I didn't even know that.
See, it's a Saturday, so no one's going to be in. That's a shame. Jonathan David, this absolutely reeks of agent talk and nothing more to me. Do you like him? Would you have him at United? His stock was pretty high at the end of last season. Not heard a lot this season.
I watched a bit of him in the World Cup for Canada. I feel like he's a decent player, but he's not a needle mover at all. I don't reckon. I think
10 in 23 so far this season.
He's been a decent striker in League One. League One's a bit hit and miss. It's not quite as hit and miss as Germany. I think if you score goals in League One, I still think that has a little bit more credence than scoring in Germany. But Jonathan David would come in and be, if you could get him for relatively cheap, it'd be worthwhile. But I don't think he's like a £50 million striker. I don't think he's quite that calibre. But if he's someone that you could get for around 34 million, it's not the worst option. He's got a potential. He's got a bit of ability. But also, he's not really an out-and-out nine as well. A lot of the reports on him and a lot of the analysis on him suggest that he's kind of one of those that likes to play with another striker, and he's a bit of a second striker type of person, which was actually the same thing that was said about Højlund before he arrived. He never really led the line on his own at Atalanta. He used to play with Zapata.
Zapata, yeah.
Together at Atalanta.
Zapata?
Duvan Zapata. Yeah. So I don't know, but in terms of in my opinion, he wouldn't be someone that I'd go for.
Yeah, interesting in it. League On, obviously, Lacazette is the perfect example, I always think. Like, before he came to England, it was 22, 31, 23, 37, and then those numbers pretty much halved when he got to England. Not too bad, 17, 19, 12, 17. But then Lacazette went back to Lyon last season and got 31 goals in 39 games. Yeah. So you see the sort of the levels difference. You know, obviously it doesn't always translate like that. Sometimes you get someone who comes in and does better than they ever did there. Yeah. But, you know, you would expect to drop down in numbers, and he hasn't quite got the numbers to spare Jonathan David for me. Like last season, 26, the year before that, 19. It's a decent return, but you almost want someone of that age to be hitting you with a 30-goal a season to really show you that he's going to do it in the Premier League. So we'll wait and see. But again, this sounds to me like agent talk rather than anything else. Something that definitely isn't agent talk is our next story. Come on, Ethan, we need to claw it back here. Ratcliffe to spur on United. You know what? Do you know what this is? Do you know when a player's having a bad game?
Yeah.
And then the second half, the manager goes, just play it simple. Just get a couple of passes on your back. Nothing silly. Just get the ball and give it to Paul Scholes. You've played it simple here, haven't you? Yeah. You're working your way back. Ratcliffe to spur on United. It works. It's not particularly exciting, but you know, no one's getting upset with that. It works.
Is there another one? Can Ratcliffe levy a win?
Ooh, that's not bad. But also, no. What does levy mean in that instance? No, but what does the word levy mean?
It sounded like it made sense.
Like leverage. Is that short for leverage?
It is short for leverage.
Okay.
Levy a win.
I thought you meant levy as in some sort of like dam. Anyway, let's get into this.
Owner to owner.
Well done, Ethan. I'm glad that you're just finding your feet again. You're making those simple 5-yard passes. No Rabonas, no flicks, just getting the job done. Respect.
Did they appreciate the levy? Because I'm very honest. Don't tell me, that's shit.
Someone said when the levee breaks, it's where you drive your Chevy when it's dry. That's a American Pie reference there.
What a program.
When the levee breaks. Yeah, people aren't really getting that one, I'm afraid. Ratcliffe to spur on United. So Jim is set to watch United in person for the first time since his proposed 25 rising to 29% purchase of the club was confirmed. Ratcliffe is set to attend Manchester United's match against Tottenham Hotspur on Sunday. Ineos' Director of Sport, Sir David Brailsford, has been at all 3 United matches since the announcement of the £1 billion purchase on Christmas Eve. Ineos Chief Executive Jean-Claude Blanc was also at the FA Cup win against Wigan. Official ratification of the deal is not likely until the end of February. However, it is part of the deal that Brailsford and Blanc will sit on the football club board and must be told of any significant decisions around key personnel in the interim period. So it isn't officially theirs. They aren't officially making decisions, But everything we hear suggests that they've already got a lot of power. They can veto stuff. Everything has to be ran past them. They are essentially, decision-making wise, already in the role, aren't they? It seems like.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Which kind of, it being this kind of grace period almost, or this kind of, it almost feels a little bit like purgatory. But
yeah,
especially in January, where we was hoping that we could have some sort of something to kind of spark the squad, whether it be a loan. I know we've been fucking tired of the loan market and the free agent market or whatever, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be much changes and much done during that period. Because even we're talking about Ten Hag and whether his job security, it just seems a bit of a period where no matter what happens, can big decisions really be made before the deal's actually been ratified and they're actually in place. But then again, that could also suggest that if big decisions are needed to be made or transfers, as long as they get the A-OK from the likes of Jim, JBC.
Love that.
Do you know what I mean?
Are you calling him JBC already?
Yeah, it's my guy. It's my guy. So.
Well, what about what about Sir Dave Brailsford? Are we calling him SBD? SDB?
SDB?
Yeah. SJR, SDB, JBC.
Do you know what I mean?
It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad.
You need to get that knighthood piece. Sir Ronaldo Brown is a sensational title, isn't it?
I don't know if I'll ever get that,
I think you've got a good chance. Some people in the comments, someone said Ronnie on fire at the weekend for Paddock FC. Well done. Scoring goals.
Yeah, I scored actually.
Did you?
Surprisingly.
Well done. Isaiah says, thoughts on Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord? I don't know a lot about him. He's been on fire, hasn't he, this season?
He's another one, Eredivisie. I know, when you talk about Eredivisie tax, everyone will just come back at you and say Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a major striking success story from that league. But I don't know, he's another one. He's a good player, but from what I've also seen from him at Feyenoord, I know I don't want to be too athletic focused, but he's not. There's like a little bit of a spark and a speed that he doesn't have. He's very much a striker that I think would frustrate us as fans. I think we do need. It's gone further towards that type of striker, like an Ollie Watkins or a Haaland or even a Darwin Núñez, and even players that are quite bad like Nicholas Jackson. It's players that obviously have a little bit of stature. Even Højlund as well. Stature, but they're also very quick and Darwin can cover the ground quickly, can cause defenders problems, they're strong. I think there's a physical element that Santiago Jimenez doesn't quite have, which might make the Premier League a little bit more difficult for him.
Interesting. I don't disagree with that. Christian Shea's been a member for 36 months. Thank you very much. Says, so excited. Been calling for United to pick up David for almost 2 years. I mean, if anything, he's excited. Maybe you weren't quite so excited, but some people do want Jonathan David, which is always the case with any goal scorers. I think in particular people love him, don't they?
Yep.
Someone saying better than David, talking about Jimenez. He's got 20 goals in 22 games so far this season, which is obviously fantastic. But like you said, there are plenty of strikers who score loads of goals who wouldn't be right for Man United. Bas Dost is the one that always springs to mind. He used to get like 40 goals a season for Sporting Lisbon, and he'd make like 50 touches a year. He's literally like every single touch he would have in a season would be a goal.
The end of it.
Just on the end of it, absolutely everything. Let's move on to our next one then, and this is basically the opposite end of the age spectrum. Youngster Hannibal Medbury, silence of the loans. I quite like that. I like that, and do you know why that's good? Because
is it a Hannibal
his
reference?
name's Hannibal.
Yeah.
That's good, that. You know what, you can have that.
Okay.
That's really quite good. The only problem is silence doesn't really work in terms of the loans.
Yeah.
But I suppose it kind of does because
it has life.
Pun
has life.
That's really nice. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. Sevilla are advancing towards an agreement to sign Hannibal Medbury on loan for the remainder of the season. Actually, the more I think about that, the more I like it. That's really good, that. Silence of the loans. Come on in the comments, let us know what you think of that. Someone says, nah, credit where it's due. That's a good one. So a lot of clapping emojis. It's very good. This is very, Witterbird with 3 thumbs up. Yeah. Good stuff. Decent that, Ethan. Yeah, well done. Sevilla are advancing towards an agreement to sign Hannibal Medbury on loan for the remainder of this season. The La Liga side have faced competition for Hannibal from Everton, but as things stand, their proposal is to be considered the more favourable to United and the 20-year-old Tunisia international. It would include an option to buy in the summer, which, if activated, would generate a sizable return on a player whose contract ends in 2025. There's also an expectation of the potential permanent deal featuring a buyback mechanism, ensuring that United retain an element of control over the future of a player they regard highly. Hannibal has made 11 appearances for United this season, including 5 in the top flight. Thoughts?
I'd prefer him to go Everton.
Why?
Premier League, I think he has the type of character about him that I think he'd be suited to Everton and a Sean Dyche type of team. He's got a little bit of an edge, aggression,
Quick fight.
But also, what's also annoyed me about Hannibal, is if you know Hannibal coming up through the academy system or through the youth system, he's actually a very, very technical player. Like, he's very technically gifted, he's very good on the ball, he's very tidy. But I think the way he's been utilised as a United player is just someone that comes on and he's all guts and glory and not really the kind of the technical side of it, like where he's almost playing too fast.
Yeah.
And I think I want him to go somewhere in the Premier League still. And I think somewhere like an Everton is what suited him, where he could actually do them things but also express himself a little bit more.
Can I?
Because I watched him against I know it's League Two, but when he played against Wrexham
in pre-season,
he was like 20 times better than everyone on the pitch, including the United players.
Yeah.
And that was the most I've seen from him in terms of a technical standpoint.
I'm reading this into this. You tell me what you think, whether I'm off the mark here. To me, and the rumour is that he fancies Sevilla. So if that's the case, then what I'm about to say doesn't make sense. But if United,
is it Seville, Liverpool? Is it the?
What's
nicer?
What's easier? No, my point is, if we were sending him to Everton, or United wanted to send him to Everton, I think that is to turn him into a player who can work for Man United. If we're sending him to Sevilla, I think that is to boost his transfer fee as much as possible. So if it's up to him, then obviously that's out the window. If this is United's preference, I think that's with a view to selling him, rather than with a view to turning him into a better player for Manchester United.
And it's also, where does he get more game time? I know Sevilla are struggling a little bit this season as well. But
yeah, who knows? I think that's 50-50 personally. Maybe Everton.
Because the loan didn't go too well for Martial there, didn't it?
No, it didn't. But the rumour with the Martial loan was, we thought, send him to a league like La Liga instead of the Premier League. I think it may have been Donny van der Beek, actually. It was. Yeah. They wanted to send Donny van der Beek to Spain because they thought it would sort of show his talents off a little bit better, so we could get more money for him. Instead, he went to Everton, got injured, didn't really impress, and now we're selling him for what? Or there's a potential 11 million quid loan or fee after the loan. So to me, if he's going to Sevilla, maybe it's his choice, but if it's United's choice, I think that might be with a move, or with an eye on selling him permanently. That is going to be all from us tonight. Okay. Simple as that. How was that?
Nice.
You stepped into Jay's shoes more than well. They look a bit different on you than they do on him, but they still look very good. Nice pair of red Adidas trainers that he always wears.
Always.
Always.
Are you saying that he doesn't really change up much?
No, it's not that.
Hoodie.
He's got a style.
He's very Green Mile, innit?
Yeah. Do you know when you watch like Men in Black or whatever, they wear the suit every day.
Yeah.
It's not because it's they ain't got any style. It's because they've got so much style that they've locked in.
I hear you.
And that's what Jay does.
That's exactly what it is with Jay.
That's exactly. People saying that you need a Parker. Although even Jay didn't wear that inside. He may be ridiculous, but he's not that ridiculous. Right, that's going to be all from us. Thank you, Ronaldo, for joining us. Thank you at home for joining us as well. We'll be back in the morning with the news. I believe it's Jay back in the morning with the news, so you won't have missed him for very long at all. Hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This has been Transfers Live. We'll see you in a bit.